with my whole heart. I surely would definitely insult somebody's intelligence and have another crack at this. I know some of these are gonna be mean, I'm sure. Oh, I remember being icked, for sure. This book almost made me quit reading altogether. I don't care if he did you wrong. Hi friends, welcome back to my channel. My name is Chrissy and this is my Cozy Corner. In today's video, I'm going to be reading 1-star reviews. That's right. 1-star reviews on Goodreads of my favorite books. I saw Larry Reed's do this in one of her YouTube videos and I felt like it looked like a ton of fun to do. So I'm not gonna do all my favorite books ever. I'm gonna pick about 10 of my favorite books. I love all these books up here with my whole heart. I gave them all 5 stars, so I know I'm gonna get a little butthurt, but it's all in good fun, so it's all good. We're gonna go ahead and get started. I'm gonna insert the title and the review, but I'll make sure not to show the reviewer's name. So the first book I'm going to be looking at for the 1-star reviews is Firefly Lane by Kristen Hanna. So let's go ahead and look at the first review on Goodreads. The first review says, "This book insults my intelligence." This book insults my intelligence. This is why I'm never writing a book, because if Kristen Hanna can insult somebody's intelligence, then I surely would definitely insult somebody's intelligence, because she's, I think, a really good writer. I mean, friend. So the next one says, "Litero," so like literally, but for short, I guess, "so boring. I've had to flee my country to get some respite. Only after 6 months do I feel I can come back and have another crack at this." Okay, that's funny. That one's funny. They didn't say it was the worst book ever. This one's forgivable because one, it was clever. Okay, moving on to the next review for Firefly Lane. It says, "Utter garbage, cliched characters, a thin plot, so much cringe." I don't remember there being cringe. I don't know. Maybe I have to reread it. Okay. "I wish it had been a paperback that I wish it had been a paperback that I could have chucked into the recycling or over a rooftop into the garbage, I guess, because that's where this writing belongs." Ugh. Oh man. Obviously, respectfully disagree, but that one was funny too. The garbage, really? Like, maybe just like donate it to somebody or something. Moving on to the next 1-star review for Firefly Lane. It says, "I couldn't finish it. Made it almost halfway. I just got bored during their college years." That's fair. I mean, it didn't entice me enough to continue, although I did look up the ending and I'm not terribly upset over it. Tully is just not a nice person. I can see that. Definitely don't like her enough to see if she sorts her life out. So I can kind of agree there. I love the book Firefly Lane. I did watch the show and I thought the friendship was so sweet and so endearing. And then I read the books and I felt the same way for the most part, but I do feel like Tully is much harsher in the books and I feel like not so much in the show. I actually felt like the friendship was stronger in the show and Tully was not like mean or unkind like she was sometimes in the books. So I definitely can agree with that, but I still love the book. So the next book, we're gonna do People We Meet on Vacation. And this one has some mixed reviews, so I know some of these are gonna be mean, I'm sure. Okay, this one's not bad. This is funny. "Very concerned about Poppy's hygiene habits." I forgot about that. Now that you reminded me of it, I'm like, oh, I remember being icked, for sure. Yeah, okay, this is a good one. Like, I agree with this one. Moving on to the next review. The next one for People We Meet on Vacation says, "I must be crazy, right? Because how is everybody loving on this book but me? I'll try again later. Or maybe not. Welp. I tried again, but still nothing. It's a fail for me." Well, you know what they say, a third time's a charm. The next one for People says, "DNF at 10%. It's not very far. Alex is so effing annoying. I physically cannot bring myself to read any more of his frowning or insanely awkward and unnatural dialogue. I usually love anything Emily Henry writes, and this book sounds alright so far. The long flashbacks are kind of boring, but I just can't get over this for some reason. Maybe I'm just not a fan of Friends to Lovers. Well, certainly if you're not a fan of Friends to Lovers, definitely good thing you didn't finish this book, but there's a lot of male main characters that are like that, frowny. They call them broody, I feel like, but I mean, if you don't like the male main character, she was totally right to DNF. She didn't like the male main character, and then she also said she didn't like the dialogue, so this is a fair review, I feel like. Okay, moving on to the next review for people. This one says, the best way I can describe it is like this. It's like having a stranger tell you every detail about the last 10 summers of their lives and you just don't give a F. Why does that make so much sense though? Like, I love the book, but yeah, kinda, but except for I actually cared about it. But why are you telling me this, stranger? Is there a point of these mundane details? And then it ends and I'm like, all of that? You told me all of that to get to that ending. But why does that make so much sense? Irritated is quite the understatement. The issue that had them not speaking for 2 years was underwhelming, to say the least. Did not enjoy, do not recommend. I kind of agree with this review, but like, I wanted to hear the tea about the person's 10 summers, so I mean, I love the book, but this was definitely like kind of hit the nail on the headboard there. I do agree with the issue being very underwhelming in the book. You get through all of that and then you learn the issue and you're just like, really? But I kind of like ignored it because I love the book so much. It's been a while since I read it, so I'm gonna reread it and see if it still lives up to the hype I have in my head. But yeah, moving on to the next review. The next one says, When Harry Met Sally. A lot of people love that movie. But if it was written by a 16-year-old on Wattpad. You did not just compare the queen herself, Miss Emily Henry's writing, to a 16-year-old on Wattpad. We're gonna leave that one there. The next one is 11 Other Words, and I just know people are nasty about this book sometimes, but the majority of people love it. So let's get started. 11 Other Words by Christina Lauren. I don't get this one at all. It says a favorite word, question mark, he whispers, you, and then it's like crying emoji. So like, did you like the book? Was that like sentimental? Is that the only thing you liked about the book? Did you like the book and then change your review later? Because it seems like you liked it. Okay. The next 1-star review for 11 Other Words, it says, Mom, we have people we meet on vacation at home. People we meet on vacation at home. The girls that get it, get it. I mean, I think I get it, but kind of like what you have at home is better than what you're going out to buy. But it's like, I can't relate because I liked both books. 11 Other Words did come first, and the only thing that's similar about them is, okay, there's a couple things, I guess. The Friends to Lovers, and then the like summary aspect. Okay, so there's the Friends to Lovers, the summary aspect, the past to present timelines, and what the heck happened. But everything else is different. Like the childhood friends growing up next door to each other. I would definitely say it's more like Every Summer After. But people who meet on vacation, I feel like a lot of people who like that are gonna like 11 Other Words. But if this person likes People We Meet on Vacation and not 11 Other Words, then that just proved my theory wrong. But anyway, yeah, okay, so can't relate to that one though. The next 1-star review for 11 Other Words, it says, Carly Fortune's Every Summer After is mirror to this book. Every Summer After is way better. Tried to be a cute story, but turned out to be toxic. Okay, spoilers for both, but doesn't Persephone cheat on Sam with his brother? Even though, like, I like Every Summer After, and that's in Every Summer After. And I know there's some like separation and miscommunication, but the thing that happened with Elliot, I feel like is wildly different. And I'm just gonna put the emoji right here. if you know what I'm talking about. And I do feel like Christina Lauren should have touched that subject matter or that topic a little bit better, because then it would have been a little bit more clear to the viewers. Because if that was a woman, what happened to Elliot, if that was a woman, nobody would have argued that that's not what happened to her. So just, if that was a woman, what do you guys think? Next review for Love in Other Words. The more I think about this book, the more I hated it. Giving this a 1.5 because of how excruciatingly annoying the characters were. Do not even get me started on the narrator. I don't know who told her to sound like that. She was sighing for 11 She was sighing for 11 hours, but my God, it was unbearable. The only reason I finished this book was because I needed to know that the main character, sorry, I'm still laughing about this sighing thing. I mean, I love audiobooks, but if the narrator, if I just can't, then I'm gonna have to switch over to like the actual book. So the only reason I finished this book was because I needed to know that the main character wasn't just being a petty a-hole. Turns out she wasn't being petty, but she was a real a-hole. I don't remember, like, I know that she was acting a certain way because of what happened and she wasn't aware of everything that went down that night. So the next 1-star review for Love in Other Words, it says, a favorite word should have a DNF'd. I see what she was trying to do there. Should have DNF'd. That's 5 words, so I see what she was doing there. But it would have been more clever if it was just 1 word and not 5 smushed together. But it would have been funnier if it was 1 though, right? The next book we're gonna read 1-star reviews for is The Bridge Kingdom by Danielle Jensen. So let's get started. Next review says, this book is boring, boring, boring. The characters, boring. The world building, boring. The fight scenes, boring. The plot, boring. The dialogue, boring. The romance, boring. The premise, interesting. Hey, there's a positive. The execution, boring. It is safe to... Is it boring? Is this book boring for you? Is it boring for you? It's safe to say this book is boring. I'm glad we cleared that up. The start of the book is very good and I enjoyed it until I spent about 70% of the book reading fight scenes that had no impact to the plot and the main character being super dumb and thinking she's Spy of the Year when she's just getting lost in some forest. Excuse me. Wait. The main character being, I'm sorry, my eyes, it's like I'm crying now. That was funny, okay? The character being super dumb and thinking she's Spy of the Year when she's just getting lost in some forest. I mean, like, a lot of our fantasy books, I feel like that kind of happens, doesn't it? Then at the end, the book remembers that there's this thing called a story it needs to tell, so it amps up all the action. I'm still laughing about the last part. Where was this in the middle of the story? All of this is boring. You know what? I totally forgot that this reviewer talked so much about how boring it was in the beginning until we got to the end. I'm like, oh yeah, that was like the main word you love to use. That was hilarious. And I disagree with all of it except for her thinking she was Spy of the Year, because that certainly is something that I definitely look past. I feel like in a lot of books they're supposed to have like, oh, this assassin, they can do all these things, they're super sneaky and smart, and then they make all these dumb decisions and you're like, aren't you supposed to be smart? Then you just like look past it because the ride is fun the rest of the way. So I mean, I know that since I've started rereading things, I've definitely paid more attention to that stuff. So I'm guessing, I don't know if I reread this, if I'll feel that way, but yeah, very funny. All right, the next review for The Bridge Kingdom says, Laura, that's the main woman character. I have been trained, like she's saying this is her saying this. I have been trained for 15 years as a ruthless assassin, murdered, I don't know, what kind of words can we say on YouTube? I'll learn. Murdered innocents, plotted devilish plans, have seen horrors you can't imagine, dedicated to ruining Aaron. Oh, isn't he pretty and oh so kind? Never mind, I couldn't possibly live without him now. A ridiculous, vague, wet lettuce of a book. Literally zero feels, only bafflement. essentially a very trippy year 5 level story. Okay, first of all, I'm gonna defend Laura for a second. It wasn't just Auron that made her change her views. Remember, she fell in love with Ithacana and, am I saying the country right? And the people there. And she was like, well, everything I knew is wrong. So that was part of it too. So give the girl a little bit of credit there. Still on the Bridge Kingdom, the next 1-star review says, well, I never read fantasy, but a friend recommended this to me and I did not enjoy it. That's okay. Sorry, fantasy friend, but it sucked in my opinion. Still fine. I mean, we like what we like. I feel Jensen tried too hard with making the names sound new and different, but they ended up being confusing, hard to pronounce, and dumb. Don't get me started on how Laura was always wet and nude too. Or nude, my bad. Definitely don't read fantasy if you did not like the book for the most part because you can't pronounce the names, because I feel like most fantasy and romantasy books are going to have those difficult names. So it's okay if it wasn't for you, but if it was because of the names, definitely not your genre if that annoys you that much. Next book that I'm going to be reading these 1-star reviews for, I'm not too excited about this next one because it's Kingsbane, which is the second book in the Furyborn trilogy. And I know this one came out a long time ago and it started out young adult, and then in Kingsbane it got a little new adult, and a lot of people who were like reading young adult, because it started there, did not like the turn that it took with the different writing style of a new adult. So I know that that's why the series didn't get as popular as I think it should have, because I think it's so wildly underrated. But we're gonna read the 1-star reviews anyway and hopefully not get too worked up about it. Okay, Kingsbane, here we go. Boo, boo, boo. What the F was this? Everything was just so heavy-handed and like set up too well or too obviously. Like every plot twist just made me more annoyed and bored, and it didn't ever hit. I was just like, oh, I guess this terrible thing is happening now. Corian and Simon are stupid characters and very annoying, and I just don't enjoy them at all. They're fun. Corian was a fun villainous character. Like, he was supposed to be unlikable, so okay. And like Simon, I could see why you're mad at him, but again, if you like morally gray characters and like all the popular men now, I mean, he's totally fine. Eliana should have been a whole lesbian. They could have went that way with it and that totally would have made sense. Yeah, absolutely agree with you there. And Riel should have been caught up between Audric and Ludovine. I was just bored, okay? There's so many cool ideas, but it's like effing fondant on a cake. That is a great way to put it. Not for this book, but just like, I love that comparison. That's actually really good. It's like fondant on a cake. I just can't keep chewing through it. It's just too much. I have felt like that before with a book, so thank you for that comparison. And to go from 2 POVs to just random people is insane to me. Okay, whatever, no third book for me. I really liked the extra point of views. It's like when you're reading a fantasy book and or watching a fantasy show, Game of Thrones for example, and you're following different characters' journeys, but eventually they all connect, like Game of Thrones. I like that kind of stuff, so that's why I like this book. So if you're into that and you haven't read these, I say give it a shot. Next review. These aren't too bad actually. The frequent bounce between the narration of Riel and Eliana is chaotic and does not reflect the separation of time between the 2 characters. Actually, I will say I got whiplash when I started reading Furyborn. You're reading Eliana and it's like all of a sudden the next chapter is Riel, and it's literally every other chapter. It bounces back and forth, and it was like whiplash, but I got used to it to the point where I was like reading Riel's chapter and then something would happen at the end. It was just like a cliffhanger. And I'm like, no. And then I got to Eliana's chapter and I was like, oh, I have to read this whole chapter before I can figure out what's gonna happen with Riel. But then I'd be so into Eliana's chapters and then that same thing would happen, cliffhanger, and then you're like, no, oh wait, I wanted to know what happened with Riel. So I got used to it pretty fast. I will say it did bother me at first though, but then this person did say I would read instead Plague of Angels by Sherry S. Tepper. I will look into that. Thank you for the recommendation. Okay, we're gonna just do one more. Okay, this one's, I would rather down a whole bottle of arsenic than relive this trilogy. That's so harsh. I'm scarred both physically and mentally and need extensive emotional healing. I agree with that. I mean, scarred, not physically, but definitely mentally in like a good way, like, oh my gosh, I can't believe that happened type of way. The whole emotional things in this whole trilogy, like, scarred me, but in like the best way, I guess. Note to self, if you hated it at 15, you most definitely are going to hate it at 18. Okay, well, I'm 33. I never read it at 15. I didn't read it at 18. I'm reading it now and I love it. So if you've seen any of the books I talked about and you're fans of any of these books, I feel like you're gonna like it. Okay, so the next one we are going to talk about is Hellbent, and this is another one where a lot of people love Ninth House and did not love Hellbent, and I love them both. So yeah, let's get started on this one. The first review for Hellbent says, how to be a negligent rabbit owner 101? But she's so real for saying that. I mean, best review of all time, 100%. I agree with you, even though I rated it 5 stars. That is hilarious. There's so many like creative people on here with their like 1-star joke reviews. I'm like, I want to be friends with all of you, even though you hate all the books I love. So if you haven't read Hellbent, I mean, this is like not a big spoiler, but it definitely, I mean, you might want to skip past it because it is a plot point, but it just says built an entire book. But why would they not mark it a spoiler if it didn't? Nobody marked it as a spoiler. So I feel like it's not, but it does give away like something that they're doing, I guess. Built an entire book towards traveling to hell to retrieve a soul and delivered a trip to the mall? Wait, that was my favorite part of the book. I thought it was so fun and action-packed. Like, it was such a good time. I don't know, maybe I missed something there, or maybe I'm just like not picky. I don't know. I would like to say I'm a pretty like hard and fair reviewer, so I've given my fair share of 1 and 2 stars, okay? I give a lot of 3 stars, so I'm not trying to convince you of my ratings over here, but I thought that it was fun. I thought that journey was fun. So yeah, anyways, moving on. Okay, so the next review for Hellbent says, I'm scared of the cover, and I'm even more scared of Lee Bardugo. I'm scared of the cover too, friend. Like, terrified of it. I would not sleep with that in my room. But why was there, okay, it says, why was there a glow-in-the-dark eggplant? I mean, like, I get it, but I was also probably thinking this, like, when I was reading it, I was like, okay, if that doesn't intrigue you, then I don't know what would intrigue you, but that does happen. Okay, we're gonna do one more for Hellbent. If this won the Goodreads Choice Award for Fantasy, then I have lost all trust in Goodreads. Well, I guess you have lost all trust in Goodreads because it did win last year's Choice Awards, and I voted for them. This is one of the worst fantasy books I've ever read, and I have been reading sci-fi and fantasy for over 40 years. I tried to finish, but just became disgusted with the lack of plot. Where? Unbelievable and undeveloped characters and bad dialogue. There was like side characters that shined that I felt like had growth or whatever. Alex Stern had growth from the first book. Anyway, I never write reviews, but this one was such a disappointment. I have almost given up on modern authors. The craft of good storytelling has been lost. Okay, so the next book is If We Were Villains by M.L. Rio. This is literally probably top favorite book of all time, at least in the top 5. So I just have to remember opinions are subjective. It's okay. All right. So the first one says, what normal human being starts quoting Shakespeare verbatim in the middle of a sentence? Thy need to get a grippeth. The next review says, I think I am too dumb to be able to appreciate this book. Don't say that. Don't say that. At least there's like a positive, just like not the dumb part, but like that you even have like a little inkling that the book should be appreciated. The last one for If We Were Villains, it says, this book almost made me quit reading altogether. What? No. Really? Really? That's dramatic. Okay, I lied. One more. If I see this book in another, read this. If you like The Secret History, I will put a to my head. So I haven't read The Secret History. And I do hear that if you like one, you'll like the other, but I love this one, so I guess I'm not gonna have that problem unless I don't like The Secret History, but I just don't see that happening. The next book I'm gonna read 1-star reviews for is going to be The Gray Shear by Kim Leggett. So this one I think deserves more hype, but let's see who thinks it doesn't deserve more hype, okay? All right, starting with the first 1-star review, I think I would much rather get stabbed than read this book again. Well, don't try then if that's how you feel. The next one says, what was the point? Edit. Who gave this 5 stars? Who are you? What are you doing? Hi. Starting off strong with this one here. Girl, bye. I roared as I climbed atop my wyvern and left the throne of glass phantom. Can we be friends? Because that was hilarious. I love it. I might use that for something else. I'm just kidding. I won't take that. But that was really good. I'm not even mad about that one. That's funny. All right, the next one for Queen of Shadows says, I'm so pissed off that I don't even remember what my review said. I've definitely been there before. So I feel you on that. I've been there before. Definitely can't relate to Queen of Shadows, but yeah. Okay, so in next review, you broke my heart. Okay, so you might want to skip this because this is kind of a spoiler. You broke my heart with a Kale and a Rowan situation. I can't even finish the book. The first 2 were so good. I'm done with this series. Well, really, Kale though, like, he's fine, but I'm a Dorian. Like, I love Dorian. So, okay. The next review says 1.5 stars. 0.5 is for Manon. Just 0.5? She deserves more than that. The last book that we are going to read reviews on is going to be A Court of Mist and Fury by Sarah J. Maas. Let's just get started. Let's rip the band-aid off right now. Here we go. Okay. Rhysand discovers women have a brain and can think for themselves. Literally invented feminism. Oh my gosh, a woke feminist king. That's hilarious, but you gotta like think about the time or the era that Sarah J. Maas is trying to kind of capture, I suppose. It's not like an urban setting. It's more of like an older, like not as old as Thorn Glass, but an older setting, you know? And how views were different then. Okay, so the next one says, this was the Fae. So I don't know what we can say on here, so just like read it up here for yourself. This was the Fae corn and the biggest waste of time ever. Sorry, not sorry, but I'm pissed off because my big ass reviews were deleted. I'm sorry, that's annoying when your reviews get deleted, but actually Fae corn would kind of make sense in that sentence. That's so funny. I don't feel like there's that many spicy scenes in A Court of Mist and Fury, but I guess if you don't like to read that, or if you go from A Court of Thorns and Roses where it's not as descriptive to A Court of Mist and Fury, and there's literally 2 scenes in the whole book, I'm pretty sure. And then the first one doesn't even happen for like hundreds and hundreds of pages. I don't know, I felt like it's pretty tame, but I like my books that way. Sprinkle throughout, but build it up. Slow burn. I love it. Okay, moving on. The next one for A Court of Mist and Fury says way too much spice for my taste. It's only like 2 scenes, but I mean, maybe they're too detailed. That's fine. Book 1 left me with some hope, but now I honestly say I can walk away from the series without caring to find out what happens to any of the characters, except maybe Lucian a little bit. He was always my favorite. I like Lucian too. I mean, really, trying to find Feyre's character development in this book is about as easy as trying to count the number of times the word "mate" is used. Zing, that was a good one. Plus, I'm still mad about the whole Rhysand thing. Are you a Tamlin lover? Is that... I don't see how you can be, but... In ACOTAR... Oh, okay, I get this. In ACOTAR, Rhys had the potential to be one of the best YA villains I've seen in a long time. Too bad he was reduced to your basic, snarky love interest. Guess this is my sign to reread The Cruel Prince again. 2 stars. Okay, well, it's on 1 star, but Cruel Prince is great, so I agree with you on that one. But okay, Rhys could have been a really good villain. I can see that. Maybe he still is. I don't think he is, but you know that theory. All right, next one says, I can't wait to read the next one because I hate myself and have no self-control. I can relate to that because that is me with the Shatter Me series. That was me with the Shatter Me series. I read the whole thing and I felt the same way. So I feel that too. The next one for our Court of Mist and Fury says, Feyre. Ooh, letter to Feyre. You don't get so... This is gonna be spoilers for the whole ACOTAR series. Feyre, you don't get to play with a man's heart and love for you. You don't get to break his heart and then tell him you still love him. I don't care if he did you wrong. You have absolutely no right to F up the life of a man whose life is already effed up enough without you playing with him. You do realize he went through hell under the mountain, don't you? You weren't the only one. Learn empathy. Yeah, Feyre, learn empathy. What he did was wrong, but you got rid of those problems and got better. No matter the way that you got better was via the very common medicine in you, aka a love cures all, didn't you? You loved him, so why would you want to hurt him into a place from where there's no coming back? I mean, ACOTAR foreshadows her and Rhys, like, from the beginning of the story, so... Okay, don't give me excuses. You could have gotten out of there without doing what you did. You just wanted drama. Selfishness and heartlessness on top of stupidity. I'm out of here. I don't want to continue reading about your life, which I believe is the most important concern of your life. I mean, there's war brewing, but who cares? First, Feyre needs to resand and shake the earth. I'm shook. All right, Tamlin lover, and that's okay. But I challenge you to reread the first book and you will catch all the foreshadowing for Rhys. So, ooh, that was definitely a hate letter to Feyre. We got some anger in there. And then the last one says, when you fall in love with a bat. And my life is all the better for it. So, thank you, Sarah J. Maas. That is a great one to end on. So I really hope you enjoyed this video of me reading 1-star reviews of my favorite books. I post videos every Sundays. I do hope to see you next week. This was so much fun. I'm so glad I did this. And you reviewers who are putting them 1 stars out there, it's actually really entertaining and funny. And a lot of them were very cleverly written. So I'm not even mad about it. But anyways, I will catch you guys next week. Bye.